whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space and Jeff Bezos, go, never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Boom! Come on, girlfriend. Up, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online broadcast in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And being part of that collaboration in 2021 has allowed me to reach out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. So I feel blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem with that great opportunity. We're broadcasting live on December 11th and most Saturday nights all through this year. As it's winding down, we've got State of Things with Aisha and Jill. And, originally we were going to do Ask Us Anything, but we're going to push that to the next episode because it'll probably be our last live episode for 2021. So end it off with a bang. But this episode is going to be a bang too, because the amount of content we're going to be chatting about tonight, you need to be here, especially live. If you're not, definitely catch on the replay. So let's bring up the stars of the show. Let's bring them up. Hello, Jill Jones.
Hey.
Hello, Aisha K. Staggers. Jill, you're on mute. What you do, Jill? There you
There
go.
it is. I thought it was my headphones. I wasn't sure.
It's all right. You got it right. You got it right. How are both the wonderful ladies?
Good, considering.
Not complaining. I'm trying not to complain.
Trying not to?
Trying.
You're saving that for Twitter?
I save it up for tonight. No.
Oh, that is an omen then of this conversation.
All right.
Oh boy. So, and Aisha and I were located on the East Coast of North America. Aisha's in Connecticut. I'm in Toronto, and we've had some really crazy weather today. Like I know, Aisha, what sort of weather shift have you been having today where you are?
Well, like I told you guys backstage, we went up 18 degrees from yesterday, so it was like in the 60s today, and it's just thunderstorms and rain and just really nasty, to the point that the fog was so bad you couldn't even see like out my window. It was just white.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow, yeah. And Jill, you're saying it's chilly on the left coast.
Yeah, it's like 40 degrees. And
what?
It's cold. Yeah. In the morning it was like 40. Yeah. And
wow, warmer in Canada and
it
Toronto
was.
than it is. Wow.
It really was. I mean, definitely global warming. We're supposed to have some more rain tonight, rain. And I'm looking and, oh no, wait, that's New York. Sorry, I was.
I know, like, we're having rain too. Yeah.
It's 56 degrees right now, and it will go down to like 44 or 43 tonight.
Wow.
And by tomorrow morning, it'll be like 44 degrees.
Wow.
That's like definitely going to be warmer in Connecticut, as the same temperature or warmer in Connecticut and Toronto that it is in California tomorrow.
And then
morning.
on Wednesday, it's going to be 37, it's saying.
Come on
in the
now.
Morning. 37 in the highs. Our highs this week are no higher than maybe 60, 65 or 61, 62, 56, 57. Those are our highs for the week.
All right. I think we've got enough. Let's
a
go
weather
to the
girl now.
Yeah, let's go to the conversation piece. So I'd like to thank everyone who's catching us live and or replay. Again, big shout out to people watching. I see Black Beauty. You are in the building already, and you were
Mhm.
fired up last week. So make sure you bring it again this week, because we got the topics for at least you and others to bring it. Oh, she has to say, so it's 60s here in Ohio all day. Now it's 37. 37 is the normal. Oh, we didn't get any major tornadoes in the immediate area. Well, that's good to hear.
Ooh, yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
I
good
spoke
to
to all my relatives back, but I have a brother in Kentucky. I haven't heard from him, but I think he's probably okay. I didn't see where it hit his area, but yeah, it's like pretty bad.
All right. Well, let's look at the state of things with Aisha and Joe. First up, the United States Supreme Court lets Texas abortion law continue, but says providers can sue. What kind of
They're
does
splitting the difference here. It's like they were too afraid on one hand to just strike it down. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, we'll leave this option here. So basically, um, the providers can still sue the state over the law, but the law is going to remain in effect. And that law is that at 6 weeks, it is illegal for anyone to have an abortion in the state of Texas.
And I think they're just going to try to make money in the courts. You know, there's always something nefarious going on, and it'll just get pushed around and beaten around because let's say that how could you ever win when you know the Supreme Court, you know, how could you win? How?
yeah,
You've
I
already,
don't
the Supreme Court in Texas has said that basically proven that they're impotent. So, you know, just like our AG of our nation.
Wait, can you do your holler for him again? Do your
Merrick
call?
Garland, Merrick Garland, Merrick Garland. Yeah. I didn't, you know.
But if you're the anti-abortion side, this is not a real victory.
No,
No.
Right? Can sue and be, like you just said, Joe, tied up in the courts forever.
totally. Because you've got to look at all the money that they'll make from the fees, the transcript fees, the attorneys. I mean, it's basically a joke. There will be teams like the ACLU. They'll go in and they'll do it, but there's nothing's going to happen from it. Nothing. It's going to be a circular reference always. It is never going to get resolved, and that's what our court system pretty much is like in America anyway at the moment.
Well,
Well,
isn't that
even beyond
is it?
that, though,
But
even
isn't that more like the political system? It's a circle.
yeah, but
It
even
is,
beyond
but
that,
even our courts now are really just money pits. They're just money pits for people.
but beyond the money part, the fact remains that the court does not want to have to decide this issue. Period. No one wants to decide it. So what do? They leave both options open. So yeah, on one hand, the law will stand, but then providers can sue. And basically, if the ruling is in their favor, then they can commence to providing the services. It doesn't make sense that no one has the balls enough to say, look, this is settled law. It's settled law. Let's, and the fact that it's being viewed as so weak on the federal side tells you how many of our other laws that we consider settled law, like Brown versus Board of Education, are very weak places. We're already seeing this with the voting rights legislation, that the things
Right.
that we think that are concrete laws are very fragile and very and really are subject to whoever has power in this country.
Right.
But from where I'm sitting here, then you don't do you though the environment of the current Supreme Court, do you not think eventually Roe versus Wade is going to go down?
I do. If
Do I
they
think
don't
it'll
get
go
rid of
down?
them.
I think they'll keep kicking it around. I don't think that anyone is going to decide on that.
Why
If
do
the
you?
Republicans
Kicking it
get in
around.
again, I think that it'll be gone.
But but it's a Republican leaning Supreme Court, So Aisha, why? And I'm not being hard. I just want to know why do you feel that they're just going to kick it out?
If that was the case, remember Trump had both the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court, and they still didn't get it done. So I think that it's one of those things that will get kicked around.
Would you say a slow death or just kicked around?
Just kicked around. I think what you're going to end up having is those states that are like from the south to the middle of the country are going to all have their restrictions, and then you're going to have, like you do now on the coast, have much more lenient laws, and that the federal part of it will just continue to be debated. It's been 50 years. It's been debated for 50 years, and we have in different makeups of government have had a whole Democratic ticket with president, House, Senate, court. We've had it with Republicans, and no one has been able to come to a conclusion on it. I think it's a political hot potato for
Football,
both sides.
yeah.
And that as long as it remains a political issue, there's no motivation to end it or to keep it, because it's always something that someone can run on.
So based on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this one of the issues that because it's so politicized, it's not going to go anywhere?
Yeah, I think so.
Jill?
It's possible. I just think that if they get if the Republicans get in this next go round, I think they're going to unleash every bit of fury that they've ever had. And I wouldn't even be so adverse to saying that they won't just start, coming for people with troops and things, because Bannon made a comment a few days ago about, having troops lined up and coming and defending Trump and coming.
What?
And, yeah, he made a comment the other day about. Yeah, he's still gabbing away. It's like I've seen, this is a bad situation, because I don't take very lightly what they say about anything anymore. When they talk about having their own presidential guards, basically, that's no different than what the Third Reich did and all of that. So for me, these are really, really chilling things to be saying. And then with Matt Gaetz, it came off of the heels of Matt Gaetz going on about, that they weren't going to be Trey Gowdy's Republicans in the next go round. They weren't going to be trying to make anything work. And, that to me, I'm believing what they're saying. I am not giving them the benefit of the doubt that it's just fodder, because I think they are bringing into fruition everything that they say. So when you underestimate them is when we lose. They will do that, and they will take away Black people's voting rights, period. And they will take rich people, Black people's stuff again. They will do that. They mean business coming into it this next time. And that's where the gut is going to come. They're going to gut people.
Getting back on the whole thing about Supreme Court and the abortion, and I've read this, and maybe both you can give me some enlightenment, or our audience enlightenment, if who are not familiar. What would happen if Roe versus Wade gets overturned? How does that affect other civil rights or legislations in the U.S.? What are your worst fears if it gets overturned?
Well, it starts to take away people's rights to other aspects of their health care when it comes to their body. So, for example, suppose someone decides that they don't want to get chemotherapy anymore. Their cancer's terminal. They don't want to be treated anymore. They just want to live the rest of their life as it is without being sick from the chemotherapy. Well, then the state can come in and say, oh no, you have to get that treatment.
Now,
or they could deny it to people who want it.
Why do I think of the state of Florida in that?
Because
I mean,
that's
we
probably
do
the
have a
first one to
state,
go down.
don't they? You can it's legitimate legal euthanasia in Oregon or somewhere like that, or Washington State, where you can, end your life with dignity the way you want to. But there's a lot of things that they are basically going in and getting rid of, and it isn't just there. It's just the disruption in all of our courts. I've spoken a lot about having a cousin who works for in the court system, and it's like she was even saying to me at one point, sometimes, there are a few good ones, and some of these judges who are pretty solid and fair and unbiased, but they're gotten really old, and they do want to retire eventually, but there's just not anybody else coming up with the same standards. I mean, we're in a really, because now, the younger ones are coming in and they want even more extreme things, which is really scaring the active voting base. Because here's the real problem. Young people still are not pulling their weight when it comes to voting. They're not. If they did, we might be able to get out of this. They're not. They're really not. They're letting the boomers and the silent generation still control way too much. Too much. They could really dust us off if they want to. But
Black Beauty's in for her first comment tonight, saying it's very unsettling to be an American, especially Black American. I really don't think the Republicans will care if Roe versus Wade fades away. Unfortunately, this is America. It's frightening.
Well, because the evangelicals want what they want too. Remember, they've promised to deliver certain things, Biden's head on a silver platter, and that's by hook or crook. I think the corporations have silently partnered with Trump, and that's why we're having the supply chain issues. I wouldn't even be surprised if they're paying people not to work or paying them not to deliver stuff on time. It's really like at that point, they're in every faction of our industry and of everything. When you start to see Elon Musk and his raggedy ass all on and nasty self going after our president the way he's done it, and he never went after Trump like that. When you start to see all of this, wow, Trump has a lot more people than we ever imagined, and they're not good people. Usually rich people aren't good people. Sorry. They usually aren't. Super wealthy are usually not super great at anything. They like to think they are, but they're usually not.
Go ahead, Aisha.
And this other part about this abortion law too. It's also the desire to prevent it is also rooted in white supremacy too, because the number of white people, the number of white babies born in this country has significantly dropped.
Right.
And that is the Republican voting base for the future. And so they have a vested interest in making sure that Roe versus Wade is overturned.
And Black men are on the way. Look, we see Kim Kardashian switched over and gone to white men now. So, that's sending a big message. So if I were an African-American male in America, I'd get a little bit nervous. They all come correct. The horses do come back into the barn, as they say in Ohio. All the women now, it's like it's not de rigueur or chic anymore, I guess, to have. Although if I were married to Kanye West, my own damn self, I would have opted out for something else. But that's a big concern. You got to look at how big of an influence culturally there are things going on as well. That all of these moving pieces, they play a lot into it.
Well, the debate and the noise around the abortion issue is going to continue, and it's not going away, but it's one of those forefront issues that if Roe versus Wade ever gets struck down, that would be a very interesting moment in American history.
But it's so interesting. They all like science when they're trying to have surrogate parents for their kids, that they don't, feel that they want to carry. It's so weird to me. It's like, that's science. And there was all sorts of testing and animal testing and all sorts of things. It hasn't even been, we don't even really know enough even about what that's all about yet. Not really, right. So it's another one of those hypocritical things, because people in America, what's really sad is that the country's infrastructure and, it's so freaking polluted, as Tony Montana in Scarface said to his wife, your body's so polluted, it's no wonder you can't give me a child. That's why people in America, not only just because they don't want to, but there's a lot of women here who can't have babies anymore. And I think it's because the country's so dirty, filthy, stinky, disgusting, unhealthy. And there you have it. And everybody's on medication. Kids are already on meds right now, just a lot of Gen Zs. So look at what's going to happen then. We don't know what their wombs are going to be like by the time they decide to have children. The clock is ticking, ticking, ticking. Girls start having weird periods at the age of like 23 and 24 here. Signs of like dropping a couple of eggs at the same time. That is something that is definitely an issue in America. And maybe globally, but maybe Mother Nature is protecting itself too. Why keep bringing more horrible people into the world? But they'll go and have surrogates carry their babies. And that's usually the rich people. That's what they do. They can't be bothered to carry around a baby.
So Black Beauty is saying, be mindful, in capital letters, mindful. Flynn and other Republicans have called for a unified Christian religion in America. It's supposed to be separation of church and state. And also, she says, and as well, some justices have made the comment that just drop your unwanted babies that you can't abort at your local fire department or at the hospitals. Oh, wow.
I mean, they're going to, I have a feeling that for like the next 10, at least 10 years, 10 to 15 years, they're going to keep kicking this back and forth between the Supreme Court and the states. And it's going to keep doing that volley for a little bit longer, because it's a politically expedient argument. The cultural issues always work for Republicans. If Republicans don't have Roe to run on, they don't have anything.
I think
and
we're
you
gonna
have to understand. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with her on that. I think that, there's always, they do need their political footballs. If it's not hatred towards a race of people or, immigrants or whatever, these are the platforms that, gosh, I think Republicans have been standing on since day one. You take those away from them, and then it's like, why would I want to be with this party of people? Because they don't want to give us anything. They don't want us to have Social Security. They don't want our money in our banks to be protected. It's like, it's kind of a really big question. Like, why do you want to be with them?
Yeah, and you got to remind Republicans too that it was a Republican Congress that passed it in the first place.
Exactly.
Those are different type of Republicans than the ones that are going on these days.
Yeah, but they like to claim that they're the party of Lincoln and say that Democrats were the ones that started the Klan. Well, own that piece of history too.
Right.
All right. Let's move on to our next conversation topic. And we thought that January 6th would fade away. Oh, no. Former 45 Chief of Staff Mark Meadows handed over a trove of pre-January 6th documentation. It's damning stuff. Now, if this is basically proof that a party or a group of people wanted to insurrect the country and no one's going to jail.
They had a PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah. No one's going to jail.
Good question. Why they're not in jail.
No one's going to jail. Like there's a PowerPoint.
If Eric Holder was our AG, stuff would have been moving.
Give your call again, please.
I'm not even going to bother calling that douchebag.
He's still very bitter about the Supreme Court thing. You can really tell that because it shows with It shows in the lack of effort he puts into his current job. The truth of the matter is that with Mark Meadows, he was going to have to turn this stuff over anyway because he had that book coming out. So he couldn't deny that any of it existed because he wrote about it. But they were going to have to. He was going to have to turn it over. But
but how can no one go to jail when I'm trying to figure this out.
Our laws are impotent here. We don't have it. They're impotent. There was it Moliere who spoke about laws not used enforced are impotent. They mean absolutely nothing. And that's all the messages they've been sending. And that's a curious thing to me. It's like, is this a plan or something? Because after a while, when you start to see there's no movement, and I'm not one to go into conspiracy theories, but I must admit, I'm having some really bizarre thoughts about why aren't they being tried or held or arrested or indicted?
I think the thing of it is that we don't have laws for this. This was never something that anyone anticipated would happen. So there were no laws in case this would happen.
But hold on.
There are other laws that get near it.
You're trying to tell me I'm living in Canada. There is no laws for punishing people who want to usurp a government?
We freaking what was Patrick Henry? What, really? I mean, I think that's wrong. They need to look all the way back to,
treason.
They committed treason. They're traitors. They made deals with other governments. These people are getting money in their campaigns, but we don't know that because they have super PACs that don't reveal where this money is coming from.
Exactly.
Right. That's a law that somebody needs to go, screw the law. You're going to jail.
Remember, our laws, unfortunately, in this country have to be very literal. Unless they're spelled out, they're very abstract.
I'm sorry.
And they're left for interpretation. And unfortunately, the interpretation is left for the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court yields at whatever political party.
You do realize, people do realize what a joke the country looks like globally. And you do realize that with investments, it destabilizes our investments in our country.
I don't think
people are pulling out money right and left.
Because
that's the bottom line.
When Aisha, when you told me about this story, I went, really? No, and this is just, and I have to say, from where I'm sitting, and again, Canada's no perfect country, I'm seeing the decline of America.
You are.
Come on. In countries that have a lot less material worth than America, this sort of thing, in other countries, people like Mark Meadows, their head would be gone.
And here's the problem is that all of our laws have been geared toward creating and stabilizing a democracy without the thought that what if we've decided on laws that in case of an invasion from outside, how to handle it. We've never figured out how to deal with it if the threat is coming from inside the country. And that is the problem. The threat is from inside.
So I need a clearance here. All the people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, they're being taken, a lot of them are being taken to court. Just isn't the same sort of application maybe to the people who are politicians that were involved? And maybe, and I'm not saying, I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out why, if people who were on the front line on January 6th are going to trial, how come people who had a PowerPoint on how to end American democracy are not going to jail? Am I crazy to ask that?
What do you arrest them for?
The same thing that the people on the front lines were arrested for.
Right.
What do you arrest them for? And I'm playing devil's advocate here. And the reason I'm asking the question is because, remember, the people that were on The people that were on the Capitol grounds on January 6th, they destroyed property. They injured people. Those are things, concrete things that you can actually see and can actually say, okay, they did that. We have a
Okay.
written law for this. However, this email, it hints of this, but what's the law that we charge someone with for writing this email?
Okay.
That's the part.
So we're having a good conversation here, and I'm just putting out. We're just having a
Yeah.
good conversation. And say, so here's my question: say this email was done by someone in China that lived in America, a Chinese diplomat. Would it be different?
We would do nothing because we did nothing when Russia interfered with our elections. And honestly, the truth of the matter is, if Mark Meadows had specifically an email that said, okay, if Congress certifies the election, someone needs to go in and shoot Joe Biden. That is something, it's very concrete, it's not abstract, it's very direct.
Wow.
There's a law against that, right?
Wow.
And so this is the struggle. And right now, the Democrats are not trying to be very political in this, which truth be told, they really should. This is actually a really good opportunity now to kind of really ram the point home, because people want to see justice for what happened on January 6th.
You know what?
They're not calculating it right.
You know what? Jill's body language is priceless throughout this conversation. But you know what? I think a large number of Americans don't care.
They don't.
They don't care. They don't.
And when they do care, it's going to be too late.
That's the thing. I don't think, like, I don't understand. Your country
is dead.
But your country, there could be, like, again, in other countries, these things happen. People are held accountable. In a lot of the countries, they'd be, the people who are doing this email would be dead. They'd be put on a firing squad and gone.
Right.
So because
we don't have emergency measures in place. I mean, nothing.
No. And that falls back on the people who came up with the Constitution for never thinking that could ever happen.
It falls on everybody after that point who didn't see that you can't rely on that old paper. Okay? There have been things that have been going on in this country like this for a very long time. We just never knew about it. There have been many opportunities where we've seen how dirty they could be. Did they ever get rid of Strom Thurmond? No. The roles didn't change. The people have changed. Meaning you still got these people in office. They could have fixed all of this a very long time ago. And none of them did.
The thing is that there should have been some kind of contingency plan put into effect after Nixon tried to basically take over, because this is just one step ahead of what Nixon.
Yeah, but the country was horrified then when this happened. The shame, the everything else. People had some ethical, feelings. They were vested in their country, but we actually have people who take no pride in this country, who feel the only ones who seem to really give a damn actually are those crazy little people who went to tear up the Capitol. Because the reality is the left is so busy condemning the country, not trying to figure out, how proud they are. They've always been so austere and we're so above it all. We need to be like this. We need to be like that. Do you give a country? Because the reality is it's too late. It's too late. Everybody is now at a grab fest. Everybody wants to be, I'm this. I'm going to be this label. I'm going to be this label. That'll make fine when you all go into a camp. Everybody will know exactly what you're. A trans, you're LGBTQ, you're Black, you're this, because that's where it's going to go if those get into office. And I kid you not, because authoritarianism is not just happening here. If it gets its legs in here, It's going to filter. You've got Bolsonaro, you've got certain moves that are happening in other countries, and they're fighting very hard. This country will be the worst. It will be a monster to control and tame. But don't think they've been operating just on this soil. They've been operating globally. And we've got everybody here worried about if they can go in a man's bathroom or a woman's toilet. It's not the time. Damn. The country is about to lose everything. Everybody that you know and love, it won't matter, because that plan to eradicate Black people never went away. And to get rid of, won't even, and they will turn all these little, rich Black performers they're in. They'll take your money like they took the Jews stuff. They'll take it. They'll take your artwork. They'll take it all. The hell do you think you are?
Well,
it's happened before. It will happen again under Republicans this time, because they are not your mama's Republicans.
I'm gonna catch up with some comments. Let me catch up here. So Black Beauty is saying it's also going to be interesting to see if the DOJ, Merrick Garland, will even further back up Congress, if laws will be enacted and forced to stop future attempts to overthrow democracy. Haven't heard from this gentleman in a bit, Mr. Chris. Hi all. Meadows' book seems to be damning in itself. The other materials turned over, including, as Aisha mentioned, a PowerPoint presentation. This is a law from 1870, I believe, that clearly states that if you are proven to be involved in an insurrection like January 6th, you cannot serve in any level of government. Strap on a pair, Mr. Garland. America is under fast.
It's going under fast. It is.
Next comment here. Dr. Vibe, not enough Americans are asking the same questions about why America doesn't charge them with attempting to overthrow American/treason. Chris says, I need to look up the affirmation law I referenced. And then Black Beauty is saying, after all, look how long it took us to get voting rights and the right to sit on the bus next to white people.
Yeah.
And then Jill says, Chris says, sorry, Jill, you are right. We are witnessing the slow death of our country. So many people I know are just retreating into these little cocoons where they're not seeing anything beyond their immediate day-to-day, sad and beyond frightening.
Yeah.
One of the problems we have as well is that we have two governments to keep an eye on. We have our state governments and we have our federal governments, and they don't always mesh. It's like they don't fit together. It's like one's putting a square peg in a round hole, where the federal government has its own set of laws, but then will in many cases yield to what the states want. And people get so focused, for example, on their local laws and things like that they totally disregard and overlook the fact that the federal ones are the ones that we need to make sure do not change.
But they don't get enforced. These are federal laws that these people have broken, which is why our states can't deal with it. Seriously, it's like they're federal laws. So
the states are doing better actually at charging the insurrectionists.
Yeah, but that's where
than
Trump
the
is
federal
pulling
government
apart everything. He's pulling it apart. The states. He had two plans. If I'm president, this is what's going to happen. If I'm not president, give me a scenario. I once told you guys this once before, when I had a divorce, and I'm now friends with my ex-husband, but he went in and said to his attorney, how would you defend her? And that's how they took me down. That's how Trump is. That's what people do. You don't sit and just play your own card game. You play their game as well. So you know what to anticipate. He was going to do this even if he lost in 2016. He was going to play that card. He was going to be here because they already worked this out. Like, I'm so rich, I'm going to find the brilliant minds. How would you dismantle it? Well, Russia was always saying, go after the culture, create a culture wars, destroy them that way. Liberals will start eating themselves. They'll eat each other. And that's actually what's happened. Liberals now cannibalize each other over all their requests at this point. It's unbelievable, the pettiness going on. And I need to do this, and I need to be working here, and I need to be making this much money, and I need to be doing that. At the same time, you've got something that I've never, ever seen, which is quite brilliant with Trump, is the fact that he's got all these plates spinning, and they're on the feds and the states. It's like,
he has as much influence out of power than in power.
How could you not admire that as a leader? How could you not? If you're a very low person that feels like there's no hope, of course people look at that. That's a character in a movie. You can even write somebody like this.
The other thing too is that he has what he has. It's what he has behind him. I think we give Trump too much credit in thinking that he's that kind of brilliant maestro.
He has managed to not go to jail over his buildings.
Yeah, but he has people. Remember,
John Gotti Jr. got taken down before Donald Trump. I mean,
but think about it. Donald Trump isn't. It's not him saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this, do this." It's the people around him. He puts people around him who have this bloodlust for power, and so and they're very smart and tactical at what they do, and coordinating with other people who have the same.
All the better for a leader to do that. If I'm leading something, I'm not going to put people in there.
But that's the problem, is that there's so many people behind him that have the same kind of thirst for power, and that they're willing to do any and everything, even go to jail behind it.
But not behind it and the power. This is the key point, the difference. They're doing it for him. They won't give him up. They won't serve him up. And that's the big difference. I've seen very many successful men running corporations, running businesses, and have the best people, that can get them there. And but to lay down and take 10 swords in the back for him, who is he? I mean,
but I don't even think that they're doing it for him. I think they're doing it because of what he brings. He has the people, he has the populace under his spell, and they need that in order to get power.
Yeah, but that's the whole gist of it. Adolf Hitler was the same way. So was Stalin. And then they rule by fear, which is fear. There's fear in there.
That's I think that's one of the driving modes, I think, in
and
all
I think
politics.
We saw what he does based upon one of the topics we're going to go into. I think the big reveal on that is that there's a lot more people afraid that won't even say it, because I think he threatens people's lives.
So Black Beauty is saying, let's face it, the same court has been chipping away at the federal laws regarding voting rights for years, and the states, as we see, are busy gerrymandering the Democratic Black districts. Also, she says, it's not Trump alone, it's not 45 alone that has been strategic movement for years to eradicate democracy. 45 was just a figurehead. This is a united movement.
And I think, honestly, the only thing that kind of derailed that was that we had a war in Afghanistan that lasted 20 years.
And Chris says exactly, fear is a powerful motivator. Actually, one of the best quotes I heard this week, it was made in the past, and Robert Dole passed away just recently.
Right.
And I was listening to an interview of him about what was going on recently politically in America. And he says he couldn't figure this out. He said, when I was involved in politics, Democrats were my opponents. They weren't my enemies.
But he voted for Trump.
He was a huge Trump supporter.
Twice.
And he was a really crappy person anyway. Let's be honest. He was crappy. He really wasn't.
People are rewriting history on Bob Dole.
They are. Bob Dole, please. I mean, really? And his wife, don't forget, was the head of how much money did she make from the American Red Cross?
And then became a senator. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Black Beauty saying Democrats have been sleeping and are still sleeping.
Well, there's also some of them that aren't legit either and on our side. And I also feel like You know, there's a lot of money being thrown around, and I think that gets people to not want to run anymore for their jobs and say, okay, well, I'm out after this. Why don't you just quit in the middle of it so we can appoint other people? I think it's disgusting that they wait to say, I'm not going to run because, you know, let's the ones, what are you doing? That's because they're getting paid not to run. They are, most of them probably. Oh, they're too scared. Really? I don't think so. I think you're being paid.
I think a lot of them are just tired of the BS.
Really? And if you knew your country was going down like this, you would actually feel that you need to quit and do what? Move away to another country or stay here? Nice in your nice locked up home with a bunker. See, that's the difference. If any of them leave the country, then I'll go, okay, they wanted to get the hell out of here. But they're all going to be sitting fancy and cushy. I don't buy it. You wouldn't quit. You wouldn't quit.
So I do. I can get it.
To do what though?
Even when you just work with a state legislature,
after you get tired of the and bull. Then get paid what though? Because you've been in on private, on top secret things. You know things. Why should you be able to just quit? You should quit.
But that would even happen if somebody lost the election. They'd still have all those things. The bottom line is that it's exhausting to have to constantly go and just hit your head against the wall. Then you have to worry about who's sitting next to you. Are they plotting to kill you? And and all of this. I'd be sick of it too.
Well, and
I just know there's a few messed up ones in there that are getting paid.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a few that are getting paid.
They're not all like so.
But I can promise you, the ones that are more than likely getting paid are those Republicans who see the writing on the wall, who aren't running again, like Matt Kinzinger.
Well, and before we went live, I asked Aisha a very interesting question, or she brought up a very interesting topic: that who's gonna spend more time in jail, Jussie Smollett, or the people who carried out the people carried out the insurrectionists.
I said I think that he'll they doubt he'll get any jail time, but I think that he'll get more than any of the insurrectionists will.
If that's the case, that's a perfect definition of America. Let's move on to our next conversation topic. Well, another interesting individual. Kanye.
I think we should take a break before we go into this.
Yeah. Let me get a drink.
Okay, hold on. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a break. So we will be back in just a moment. As you can see, it's fire on State of Things as usual tonight. So we're gonna take a quick little break and we'll catch you back in a little over a minute. So we will see you in a bit. So ladies, what is going on?
Just that he needs to get it together.
Sick of that. I am sick of it.
Something is seriously wrong with you.
Why is he still there?
She shouldn't be near Congress.
You need an exorcism because I don't know what is wrong with you people.
It was so powerful.
And I really wish everybody would stop bowing down to this.
What is he talking about? This makes no sense.
They know they are not the oppressed party, but they love being the superior ones and they want to flaunt it.
So it was always made political, particularly for people of color and the LGBTQ population.
We end off every episode with a cockroach. This episode's cockroach.
Everything.
Everything?
All the things are going on.
All the things? Mm-hmm. Okay, we are back. 2/3 of us are back. We'll be back in just a moment. We're at halftime of State of Things with Aisha and Jill, and Jill is coming back. So we'll make sure she gets a little comfortable before we get her up on the screen. So we'll get some comments here. Black Beauty saying, and they're all rich. Well, them Republican leaders vested, and when they all caves in, they'll be fine. It's we the people who are gonna catch H. Yes, I know what you're gonna say about that. Don't worry, Jill will say it for you if you can't say it in your comments. And then Chris is saying hashtag gin and juice. So let's bring Jill back on.
Yes.
Good to see you back, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, don't ask what's in her jar right now, then. So I ain't gonna go there. So, or maybe you
My
two knew ahead
jar. My jar. My moonshine.
of. Well, thanks everyone for hanging around. We're going to go into part 2 of our epic conversation, and I guess they wanted to take a break before we talked about Kanye West's publicist caught on video bullying an election worker for 45. What the heck going on with Kanye now? Oh boy.
This
Okay.
this
This is a rare moment. You don't see Aisha caught for words that often.
Okay, it's just so convoluted where it's like, so Trump sets his sight on this Black woman, Ruby Freeman, and her daughter, which Ruby Freeman was just a volunteer. Okay, she was just a volunteer poll worker who decided to, fill in because her daughter needed someone else, and all of a sudden, Trump seizes on this video of them recounting the votes in Georgia, and just
Crazy.
has people, they like, one of his little minions went and identified her, and they doxed her, and put all her information out. He has this call with Raffensberger or whatever his name is, and he mentions her name like 20 times. It's like he really reminds me of somebody who's like on the spectrum, because he honed in on her with, there's no rationale, no reason, no rhyme or reason for it. He just honed in on her, and it's like, I'm going to pick this one person apart to blame, and blow this out of proportion. And then he puts her picture and stuff on a screen at a
this
rally.
This one
Black person who has no power whatsoever politically, right? And then, so I guess Kanye West got it in his head, oh, I'm really going to help Trump out. So I'm going to, it's like he's the Suge Knight of politics.
Jill, I know you're a big Kanye fan.
No, I'm not.
I know you're not. I'm being very sarcastic.
He sends this woman out to kind of go threaten this other woman who was just doing her job. And it's ridiculous, because when you watch the video, you're just kind of like, it's so vague. Okay, what she's saying is so vague. It's like kind of like a mafia hit or something like that. It's so seedy and worldly, and just Kanye.
Well, here's the thing. These women, there was another one, the mother and the daughter, the Freemans, and then a Wanda Shea was another one. And they have received hundreds and hundreds of emails. They have taken them to the police. They have called 911 3 or 4 times. Ruby is 62 years old. She was forced to leave her home of 20 years. To this day, they have not investigated any of these death threats that wanted people to hunt her and to lynch her, and all of them.
What
and
country?
Right. And
lynching.
Yeah.
December 11th, 2021.
And they
We're talking about lynching in America.
They have not arrested anybody. This is Georgia. So, we have this, they just spoke about it 2 days ago. And in their words, it still has not been dealt with. They have a lawsuit against Gateway Pundit to deal with the fact that they were the ones, I think, who released the information where they lived, all of this doxing, and continuing Donald Trump's whole nonsense. But to this date, this started after the election in 2020, and nothing has been done. The curious thing is how this body cam that the police officer had when this nut job of Kanye's showed up pretending she was Olivia Pope from that TV show.
I do know how that
Scandal.
happened. I do know
But
how that
yeah,
happened. The police officer had Ruby had called the police to say, look, this lady wants to meet with me. Can somebody come over? And the police said, no, meet her at our station.
Right. And the woman came. That's what was really crazy. She went to the police station.
Yeah.
To
and the police
then
officer
say
kept the body cam on.
Right. But the fact that body cam, which we know how difficult it is to get, well, clearly, is it that difficult to get a body cam or not? Because we've seen other cases where people have tried for years to get body cam of crimes and can't get them. But for some reason, this was leaked. And that's the one curious question I have is like, who released the body cam? Was it a DA? If they haven't done any investigation, what's going on? The curious other thing is that the FBI they do know about all of this, and they have, I guess, looked into it because they told poor Ruby on January 6th that she needed to leave her home. They told her January 5th that she needed to get out.
Wow.
So that either means the FBI was in on this with the insurrection, knowing it was coming, or I don't know. Because on January, or somebody in the FBI who was, that's why nothing is getting done, because these are all still Donald Trump's cronies, and they're still in our agencies, clearly, right? So how Merrick Garland couldn't jump on this is, or anybody that I know, I mean, like to supersede their AG in the state, nobody, and we're all gonna like, this is a crime, a blatant, full-on crime. She said this woman is saying that there were federal people involved who basically were going to take her out in 48 hours. And it was claimed that the woman at one point said, the devil is a liar.
Yeah.
Ruby said that, like, the devil is a liar, get away from me, or whatever. But you've got to also know that this PR person worked for R. Kelly. So there's like all these really weird ties. And basically I had called Aisha as soon as I heard about this. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And they basically were like, probably like Aisha said, sitting in a room and going, okay, we got to get this Ruby woman to say something. And then they said, well, who knows some black people that can like deal? Kanye West. We know Kanye West. Let's just call him. And this is where it's so disgusting, because we also know that the Republicans paid for his crappy diversion campaign when he was, remember, running for president and got on the ticket somehow and all of that kind of craziness. We have this is really outlandish, and it just opens it up to how many other people are they threatening with their lives, their children's lives? How many? Because this just doesn't seem like some crazy chick who was working with Kanye, and that's what they're going to try to get us to believe it is.
Well, Kanye's going to go to jail. They got to throw somebody under the bus. It's going to be the black guy. Yeah. Kanye's going to go to jail for this.
Yeah.
Bottom line, they're gonna make sure all arrows point to Kanye, and that woman's going to go to jail. But they're not going to dig any further. Here's the thing: this is going to be, thankfully, the AG in that county in Georgia is a black woman.
Yes.
She is going to investigate this. She's not going to wait for Merrick Garland. She's going to dig into it, because it's already going to become part of the case that she has now for the interference that she's investigating. This is just additional information that shows that Trump really was trying to infiltrate the vote in Georgia to go in his favor.
Right.
And here's the thing. If Ruby, at first he went from 18,000 votes that she stuffed to 56,000. Okay. And it's like, but at the same token, all this is going on, but he was just asking Raffensperger for 11,870 votes or something like that, just because he needed one extra. And it makes you wonder, if he did this in Georgia, what did he do in Arizona?
Exactly.
what did he do in Michigan,
Right.
Wisconsin, and those other states that he was so worried about?
Right. Because we know this really is the big reveal of just how far he is reaching and having people reach. There, it just makes so much more sense now. It's like we've often thought, boy, they really changed their tune, different politicians, and go, what the hell is going on? And now it's pretty clear he's running it like Putin did. Like,
See,
this is
sloppy
FSB.
enough.
This
But
is like FSB, but it's sloppy. But it's
this is
okay
sloppy
because
enough to make me realize that this had Trump's hands all in it. Some of these other tactical things that we're wondering, like, is there a law? Should they be charged? They're constructed in such a way that it's like there's somebody who is a little bit more clever, a little bit more savvy at doing those things. This is something that Trump did himself. Right. You could tell it's so messy. There's so many loose ends. It's uncoordinated. It's sloppy. There's no.
Because the question comes in.
It sounds ridiculous. Right, it sounds ridiculous. I can only imagine what other countries think hearing that.
Yeah. I know.
I think they've gone past. They've given up. Don't worry about what other countries say. They've given up.
It's like,
but it's so clear.
Kanye West is involved in this kind of like espionage kind.
And 2 nights ago, he did a concert with Drake and somebody else
we talked about this last night.
Some criminal that's in jail.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, I don't know much about this man's private life with his wife, but are you in competition with your wife? I mean, like, your wife was known for helping women of domestic violence or crime, people who went into jail for very minor offenses. But Kanye wants to get somebody out who has 6 life terms. Okay. I still don't even understand it, and it's none of my business, but it's kind of like, did you put this out because you thought this story was about to drop on that day? That's what Aisha and I were thinking.
Yeah, he wanted people to focus on the show,
of course,
and make that go viral, so that when this other story came
come
out,
on, spin doctor
didn't work.
Gotta catch up on comments here. Hold on,
he's diabolical too.
Yeah. Black Beauty saying, very interesting that his alleged publicist Per Maddox show pulled that attempt to get her to confess initially prior to the votes being certified. Thank God for her bravery, wisdom not to give in.
True.
Also, totally disturbing that Ms. Ruby still has not been put in federal protection. Chris is saying, LOL, Aisha, it is crazy, I swear. I think they all have fallen victim to the common evil inside from 45, brown liquor.
But it's better. It's probably best that she hasn't been under some kind of federal protection, because guess what? Again, I'll say it again. I've been saying it all day. The threat is coming from inside
the house. It's true.
Of course.
It is.
Okay, Chris Langford, right? Find out who released the footage from the body cam.
True.
I bet you it was a police officer. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Black Beauty saying these.
Well, they're trying to find out. Trump and them are.
They are.
They're like, who did this? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. These disgusting bullies still haven't been prosecuted. As well, the police department did not even arrest those folks when they were right there in the police station.
I agree.
She also says this hadn't even been broadcasting on the evening news media, and it's a federal law not to imitate or threaten election workers.
Yeah, you can't intimidate election workers. I think the thing of it is, though, is that I don't think the police at the time realized that she was an election worker, so they couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
Because that was never clear in the video. It was just like, you have this problem and we're going to help you take care of this problem. We want to protect you. And she kept trying to make it seem like she was being a help and not a threat.
Okay, Chris is also saying, Aisha, right, the GA and the AG is not going to play around waiting for Garland. The Black Beauty and the DA Miss
I pray
Fanny,
the DA, Miss
NGA, does
Fanny.
not prosecute these offenders. My goodness, this initially happened in January 2021.
Yeah.
And Chris is saying thumbs up to Black Beauty. So we are caught up. Black Beauty, when you coming on the show? Okay, let's continue on. All right. So this was interesting. Letitia James, remaining Attorney General in New York, spells trouble for 45. Jill, you know the smile. If you're only listening to this, the smile on Aisha's face just popped wide.
No, because I just keep thinking about that meme that I sent you guys in the
Yes,
the
yes.
Oh Trump,
my goodness!
Trump heard that and was just like,
yeah,
he was mad. She basically said, you know what? I think I'm going to stay and make his life as miserable as possible. It's like she decided she's not going to run for governor. She's going to stay and run again for AG so she can finish Trump.
Right.
And that is the reason why.
Which was smart, because if she does that, I think she'll be able to write her own ticket. She could even run for president if she wanted
to. Well, you're reading my alleged mind. Would you not like her to replace the current Attorney General of the United States?
Well, yes. She also, not even just that, she would be, since everybody has a problem with Kamala, she would fit perfectly for 2024. If she delivers him,
I think
if she delivers the head,
she's not likable enough.
But if she delivered the head of John the Baptist, basically, not John the Baptist, but basically, we need her to deliver his head.
Interesting.
But not only this, not only did she say, I'm not leaving, I'm going to make him as miserable as possible. She also said, I want to depose him in January of 2022. She said that? Yes. She's trying to get him deposed. Give a deposition. Yes. Did we lose Jill?
I think we lost her for a moment. No problem. We'll get her back when I think it may be so everyone, Jill was saying before we went live, she was having some internet challenges. So we'll hopefully she's not gone for long. But so Letitia's is got her bow and arrow ready.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know when Trump heard that, he was just like, for him, I bet you he was so happy when she said she was running for governor.
Yes.
And now it's kind of like, oh. Not only is she announced the same day that she was staying that she's going to be looking to do a deposition of him like January 7th.
Wow.
Yeah, so like that's what, 3 weeks?
Wow. Could this, but again, the question is,
and see, unlike before with Mueller and all that, he can't say, oh, because I'm president, I don't have the time to do the deposition like he tried to do with Mueller. You weren't president anymore.
That's right. That's right. Chris is saying here, her ticket to other great things is so predicated on nailing subpoenas to 45's giant head. So definitely this is going to be very interesting and see how much coverage the media makes of this.
Yeah. I think it's a big deal. Because remember, she's doing a civil suit on him, but all of the evidence she collects will be used in the criminal case in the Southern District. Sure. So she's more of a threat to him even now than she was before, because now that he's not in office, she has all kinds of access to him. She can subpoena him which she couldn't do when he was in office. She's going to do this deposition, and he's going to try and fight it. But guess what? He's not there. There's no excuse now for him to not do it. He's not going to be able to get away without doing it.
So how much could this be a hindrance to 45 running again?
If she takes him down in the next year, which I have a feeling she wants to take him down in 2022.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like Chris Langford said, that there are things that could I guess, laws that they could deal with that would not allow him to hold any kind of position.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to get moving and working together. I mean, I can imagine this must be quite a matrix on a certain level. And also, you're still trying to figure out who you can trust in this, because there must be moles and spies everywhere, even in your own offices, because
Mm-hmm.
all it takes is for them to either threaten somebody who's working in your office or seriously, can you imagine? I don't believe it's like that cut and dried where everybody is that protected, because I also don't think that the Dems have been thinking intelligently about this and realizing just how dangerous this is. It is. This is a really dangerous
think about the
situation.
chess piece. Think about this as a chess game, and the way the pieces have all moved. The current governor of New York, she actually has taken an upswing in the polls in terms of running again. So Tisha James needs to stay where she's at. She's staying where she's at. And was it Goldman, who used to work with the Senate and the Congress and all that stuff, who did the questions during the
Daniel Goldman.
Goldman, he pulled out of running for AG.
Right. So it was some conversation, I believe, happened.
There was a power play going on here.
It was very choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now Chris is saying she needs to bring him down by next summer. Midterms are going to be here before you know it.
True. She has to. And I keep hoping that everything is going to just kind of unravel. But and they've got to be playing the best game of chess like they've never played it before.
It's going to be something.
Daniel Goldman. He is a terrific legal mind.
November.
I love Daniel Goldman. I think he's amazing. So if he's involved in the setup or however part of it, then I mean,
because he was on. I want to say he was on Rachel the other night, or maybe it was Nicole, and he said that he pulled out because she's staying, and he thinks that she's the best person. If she's not, if she wasn't going to be there, he would run. He said, but she's the best person to finish this.
Wow. There's big. So definitely, I think the two biggest stars right now in 2022 for the Democratic Party are Letitia James and Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
That's who I think the two biggest stars.
But I still think Stacey's going to have a tough battle.
Oh, yeah, again. She is.
I think it's going to be this one. I think is, I think the Republicans have a real hard on about Georgia anyway.
Oh, yes.
And I just know that it's still purple. It's not really, and I think they're going to be slugging it out.
They're going to slug it out. But here's the thing with Georgia. Remember, Brian Kemp no longer has Trump's support.
That's true. The party's divided.
Trump is pissed at Brian Kemp because Brian Kemp did not put the pressure on his AG to fix the votes. But the other part for Stacey Abrams too, that is probably a good thing, is that because Trump meddled so much in Georgia, everybody has an eye on Georgia and how this is going to go. There really isn't going to be room to kind of cheat the way that they did in 2018.
I don't know about that.
I'm not saying that they're not going to try. I'm going to say that they're going to do it, but they will have the eye of
they got two more districts that are white in Georgia.
Yeah.
With all the amount of brown and black people that moved to Georgia during the pandemic, they increased twofold, and that's a bad thing.
But they're going to have the eye of the country on them in a way that they didn't in 2018 when she ran. It was like people weren't watching to see if the election was going to be rigged in 2018 against Stacey Abrams. Now they are, because they know the shady stuff that has gone on. So people will have a closer eye on it. Whether or not they can stop it is one thing, but people will be watching it.
I mean, you have to understand that all of it, I feel, when I mentioned earlier that I feel that all of the corporations and everybody are working in tandem with Trump as well. Many of them with this whole supply chain problem, all of these things working together. And then on one hand, you hear we have a lot of inflation, and then you'll read another report and it says we don't have any inflation. There's so much miscommunication going on. But I also feel that a lot of it is deliberate. And I will keep saying that because of the simple fact that we actually have our wealthy here are their own oligarchy. I mean, they are legit making so much money off of the pandemic. And it kind of is like going back to the time when the Roman Empire fell. If you look at that and see all the grabs that happened, the land grabs, the everything that happened and how rich everybody got, that's where a lot of old money families were established during that time. And so I was just reading some, old things about the fall of the Roman Empire. And if you do look back after that serfdom, in a really weird way, they don't want the lockdowns, but they want it to be a bone of contention because they're all making money. They're going to sink a lot of money into these elections because at the end of the day, there's only a couple of things Trump cares about, not just running the country and having that power.
His wife.
It's also money.
It's making money. His wife.
No, I actually think that there's something very strange about her.
Remember, Trump is like not he's not as rich as he thinks he is. He owes a lot of money. So whatever he can do to grift and make money hand over fist, he's going to do it.
Well, welcome, green-eyed little baby, jumping in. Good to see you. Good to see you. We're on our final conversation topic for the evening. And this is, I didn't hear about this until both the ladies brought it to my attention. Peggy Newman's op-ed, Democrats need to face down the wolf.
Peggy Noonan is the cockroach of the week.
She is.
Well, tell us who she is, because I did not know who this lady was. So
Peggy Noonan is an old man who
she's horrible.
Used to write speeches for Ronald Reagan. She's one of those Republicans, but she also has a strong racist bone in her body that just likes to pick at Kamala Harris. There's something about Kamala Harris that Peggy Noonan does not like. And it is because this isn't the first time she's written an op-ed about Kamala Harris and telling her that she needs to either be humble or take things seriously. It's like every kind of trope that she can throw in about Black women, she has done so in these two op-eds. And it really makes you wonder, what is her issue? And I think part of it is this fact that there is a Black woman who's one step away from becoming president before a white woman could become president. But then again, she had issues with Hillary Clinton. I just think that Peggy Noonan is an old wrinkled witch. She's racist, and she has nothing else better to do.
Why did her column get so much notoriety?
Because of her years with Reagan and being his speechwriter. I feel like somebody threw Peggy a bone and they keep throwing it to her because, to be honest with you, she's over 70 years old. She's pretty irrelevant. And, I think these are just, and they're usually just her op-eds and she's got maybe 200,000 followers, but I do feel like she's getting paid because, I think she does have an issue with Kamala dearly, completely. And
look, they uncovered Nancy Reagan's dirty secret. They can find Peggy Noonan's too.
So Chris is saying, looking for value side road spray for that old shriveled up clan. Ouch!
She's so badly.
Chris, you have earned Jill love.
Yes, that's amazing.
Look, she did
Jill
everything
Aisha
but
love.
call her an uppity Negro.
What?
I mean, basically, it's like
that's what the article.
She did all the words that she could, all the manipulation of terms and things like humble yourself, chasten yourself. It's like This isn't Miss Mary's
it's
finishing
so
school.
similar to
This is politics.
it's similar to that Fox commentator was telling LeBron if you just shut up and dribble sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact of the matter is that Peggy Noonan has some kind of stick up her behind if she thinks that Kamala Harris is going to take advice from her.
Right.
Really?
Please.
Really?
Yeah.
He did.
I
Look,
mean,
Kamala did just fine without Peggy Noonan's
Advice.
input.
Really? Oh my goodness. Wow. 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 Wow.
But you know what? She's a typical
Chris says
old white
she
Republican
did. She's
woman.
an old red.
she is. She's a wretched person.
She is.
You know, it's there's no other way to say it. And clearly miserable. But
I didn't know who she was, so you ladies brought her up. I had
sticking
no
with
idea who
the
she was.
agenda. You know, you've got to
is.
look at these people who are part of the old court, the old
She's
whatever.
the female Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
You know.
Got it. Got
Mhm.
it. Got it. All right. Well, folks, that's the end of another State of Things, Aisha and Jill. Whoa, did we cover a lot tonight? Whoa.
That went by fast.
It
That
did
went by
actually.
really fast.
Mhm.
Really fast. I'm telling you,
Totally.
that was just like boom, boom, boom. But you know what? Ah, my gosh, America, America, America. What we gonna do with you, America? So, folks, next week, next Saturday, we are going to end off the year with a Ask Us Anything. So get your questions ready, I'm sure, and we'll be answering any sort of questions you have so you know what you're getting next week. Great conversation as always. Thank you, Jen. Thank you for your support as always.
Thanks,
and I know
Jen.
you didn't catch the live last week, but you caught the replay, so I appreciate that also. We, after next week, I know definitely the following Saturday we will not be on because it's
Right.
Christmas Day.
True.
And I don't know if we'll be on New Year's. Maybe we'll be on New Year's Day. Maybe not New Year's Eve. Maybe. Maybe. And but again, if you're following the Dr. Vibe show on either Facebook or YouTube, we may show up sometime during the holidays out of total surprise. I have a feeling we'll do something during the holidays.
Yes.
Yes, because we can't go 2 weeks.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, we can't go 2 weeks. I ain't gonna like that. I don't go for that, as Quincy Jones's old song said.
Something is going to happen by the end of this year.
Oh yeah, something's
I can't
up.
go for that. No,
Classic
no
song.
do.
That was a great album.
I can't go for that. I know.
That was a great
Can't go
album.
for that. No.
Love it, love it. As always, Jill, how can people get in touch with you?
Twitter, Jill D. Jones, Twitter, or Jill Jones Music on Instagram. Boy, Aisha or Dr. Vibe, what the heck is going on?
It's not mine. It's in Connecticut.
Ooh.
We clean here in Toronto. We clean. So Aisha, before they take you away,
I know you can find me at Aisha Staggers on Twitter.
All right, that's fantastic, beautiful folks. And with me, if I put myself up here, you can catch me at the drvibeshow.com or on Twitter at drvibeshow.com or on Instagram, the drvibeshow.com. So that is it for today. That's it for today's conversation. Thank you, everyone who caught us live. Haven't done this for a while, so I'm going to do a quick shout out because I want to say thank you to our family. We got Black Beauty. I'm still asking Black Beauty, when you coming on the show? Jen, good to have you back. Chris, thank you so much. And Green Idol Baby, thank you so much. And anyone else who caught this live on the replay, it's appreciated, not taken for granted. As always, we close out with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. So a reminder, next Saturday live is going to be Ask Us Anything. It'll be the official last Saturday conversation of the year. But again, follow me on Facebook and or YouTube, because I know some way, somehow we're going to show up before the end of the year after next week's conversation. God bless, peace well, keep the faith, and remember to give yourself grace. Thanks for watching. Bye.